You talk about experiences many women euphemize, but you talk about it frankly. You talk about what actually happens to your body. And you do that on many, many stages, whether it's IVF, whether it's, childbirth. Why did you decide?
My haemorrhoids, that's
your
a popular
hemorrhoids,
one.
that's a good one.
That's a popular subject.
Why did you decide to do that? Because many people don't. Many people just kind of say this happened and move on quickly.
I detail it because I think it's really important, because I felt quite isolated going through those things. And it wasn't until I started to speak to other women about them that they were like, yeah, that happened to me. Yeah, that happened to me. And I feel like you feel less alone when you're having these frank conversations. And it is, unfortunately, sorry to kind of make a sort of slightly negative thing, but I think it's very British not to discuss these things, and it leads to isolation, which I think made my postpartum depression worse, and just general feelings of loneliness and despair and all those things. And I think that the moment you normalise them, you feel better. Like I speak in the book about how I had a kind of short-term postpartum psychosis because of lack of sleep. And the person who was my hero in that situation was the midwife that normalised what I was feeling and was like, it's okay to feel like that. It's okay that you're in despair and you are worried and you think maybe you'll have to give your child up for adoption if this goes on, and all these things that I was panicking about, rather than say, no, you're an unfit mother, and made me feel really increasingly isolated. What she did was say, I'm going to help you out tonight. You're going to have a sleep. And if you feel like that in the morning, we'll discuss it. And it just pacified me. And I feel like it's really important that we don't just feel that we have to be this kind of social media worthy presentation of what a parent or mother should be in this instance, and that most people, I even actually contacted people on social media, I won't say who, but in the public eye, whose kind of feed made me feel like I was failing. And I was like, is it as perfect as it looks? Because I'm feeling like I'm doing stuff wrong, and have you got any tips? And even they said, no, it isn't. Like, I have moments of despair. I have moments where I mess up. I have moments where, there's a chapter in the book called Giving Into the Chaos, and there's like a catharsis that comes from actually saying, this is normal. Like, it's normal to be completely bedraggled, covered in your kid's formula milk powder, or like losing it, or just like sometimes crying in front of your kids. Like it happened recently to me where I was just sort of weeping because I was so exhausted from work, and I was just with my kids, and I just felt like I wanted to be an amazing mum, and I was just weeping, and I was trying not to draw attention to it. And my 7-year-old was like, why are your eyes watering? And I just think those moments are really important, because we're not alone doing that, and we're not failures when we do that, because our best is good enough. It's ironic because like our bodies aren't, mine's not as good as it used to be, but I just no longer care. Whereas back then, in my 20s, all I could worry about all the time was like, oh, I don't know about this lump and bump. And I had an amazing body. But the irony is, as soon as you've like had your hemorrhoids, you've like, completely defecated all over the place during childbirth, then suddenly you're like, I'm sexually empowered. Just don't know what it's all backwards.
I am so desirable now.
Yeah.